right, Janusz, it's just you and I, my friend, to finish off.
We're not going to talk about Villa.
Saturday. Yes, we are, my friend. We're going right there, my friend. Hey, I didn't say it. Our producers are telling us that's what we're going
in the chat. I saw it in the chat. I know fans, your fans, want to talk about it.
I'm not even going to say a thing. I'm going to ask you about your reaction. I'll just give you the facts, my friend. Aston Villa, 6 straight wins at home in a row, 2-1 win against Tottenham. That's the double for the season. And after, a poor performance against Wolves and obviously a loss against Manchester United before that, Villa back on track, 7th now as well. And obviously with European objectives firmly in line, my friend. But Tottenham lose 2-1, and obviously Ryan Mason with a lot to do, and Daniel Levy as well. Your reactions as Villa win 2-1 against Tottenham Hotspur.
I mean, the reaction is simple. I mean, it's just astonishing what Unai Emery has done so far. Obviously, a big win. That second goal, I think the goalkeeper's got to do better. Harry Kane scoring. I mean, he's massive, isn't it? Win or lose, he always delivers, right? So let's get this out of the way, because in terms of Spurs, there's nothing I want to say about that. It's a terrible, terrible season. It's a bad club that should be much, much better than it is. I think if you and I were in charge of Spurs, I think, I want to say we do okay, right? I mean, probably do better than Daniel Levy.
There'd be a lot of Polish and Peruvian players.
Yeah, in terms of not complicating things, in terms of maybe delegating, in terms of maybe doing a great job for a great club that Spurs are in this massive and beautiful stadium. So we got Spurs out of the way because, I mean, they fumbled in a super way this season. For Villa, look, I mean, it's your club. I know you're happy. Unai Emery comes in and I think surprised everybody. And I actually do want to hear your opinion, because you're a big fan of the club, not as big. I'm not a big fan of Aston Villa, but what did he come in when they were 16th? I think 16, 17.
Yeah, they were they were just out of the relegation zone on goals scored at that point.
So obviously it's incredible what he's done, right? Another win, Europe, and then what? Because my thing is what happens next season. And as big of a fan as I am of Unai Emery, all these things are great when things are going well for Villa. That's why I'm going to reserve my, the opinion about Unai Emery and Aston Villa, what they may or may not do next season, because Unai Emery, I know Unai Emery, we respect him, but when things don't go well, that's when Unai Emery wears on you, doesn't he? All those meetings, all the training, stop and go, like we saw, and we heard from his time at Arsenal, where just the video sessions are tedious. It's one of those things that players will take it when things are going well, and they will rebel when things are not. So not to go in a negative way. It's a great win, another great win at home, which is always important. But I'm just going to wait and see, because I'm really interested to see what happens next season. Because think about Luis. I mean, look where they are. Do you think they can replicate? I mean, replicating this, what's happening, where they are in the table, it would be great. And you know what? Sorry, Luis, I'm not so sure if that's going to be the case next season.
Well, listen, I think that the balanced, realistic, expectations of what should happen for Villa are very important. And that's why, yes, it's no secret that I'm a lifelong fan. But at the very same time, I always try and have a balanced eye, because I am a lifelong fan. I have known what it's like to be 15th in the championship with terrible ownership, with no identity, with not a project. So yes, and also to the fact that since Emery has arrived, the most points accumulated aside from Arsenal, which is a remarkable achievement given the fact that it's essentially the same squad. Only, Danny Ings leaving for West Ham, really the main difference, with Alex Moreno and Jon Hader Duran coming in. I think your point is absolutely valid, because Unai Emery is pretty much like a professor. He's a professorial type of manager. He really likes to instill a lot of information. When things are not going the right way, then all that abundance of information can be a problem. Now, the reason why I think optimism is massive, it's because it's not just Unai Emery. There is a project being built here, with Matteo Alemany reportedly coming in from Barcelona, Chris Eck, a business executive from the 76ers. So there's a plan, there's a project. So this summer, I believe, is the most important for Aston Villa in the last decade, because it's about understanding, okay, you made it to 7th, maybe we don't get Europe, maybe we do. The point is the trajectory needs to go here, because if it's flatlined or massive mistakes happen in the summer, then where else do we look? But all I know right now is that what Unai Emery has done with literally the same squad as Steven Gerrard is remarkable.
Yeah, it's
remarkable achievement.
It almost feels like if they were like 10th in the table, 11th, there would be that ceiling. There would be more room to grow, right? I mean, the way
there was more to look up, right?
And it's one of those things. We'll be here a year from now. We'll be talking about it. It's so hard to get over that, because there will be expectations, as you know it. I mean, Aston Villa are a massive club. We talk about top 4, top 5, top 6. I mean, this is historically a great club, as you've mentioned. Great ownership right now, which is positive. Almani, coming in, we'll see where that goes. It's a lot easier to get people to go to Barcelona than it is here. I mean, certainly it's going to be a massive test for him, and that's one thing that I'm going to watch for, because everybody's talking so much about him coming over from Barcelona. From a Barcelona team that before the season, Luis, we thought it was going to be a disaster. Look where they are. They're going to win the La Liga. You can say all you want about Real Madrid, how great they are, Champions League, this or that, but I don't think anybody expected that. And I want to give Alemany credit for that, but I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult in Aston Villa. So, they've hit an unbelievable ceiling on Unai Emery, and that's where he needs to get credit. I think, regardless of what happens, he's proven that he can manage. Because to me, when he came into the Premier League, I kind of looked back at Arsenal. They were a bit of a mess. And my question was, can he manage in the Premier League? And the answer is for all of us to see. I mean, he absolutely can. Although next season, I think, is going to be, how do I put it, trying.
Let's find out. But I do recommend everybody to go to ESPN.com and read my very special interview with Unai Emery. I will end it to that. Let's finish. I know I know people hate this, but let's turn it around, Janusz. Just one question on Tottenham, because the reports of, it's a twofold question for you. Let's see if you can answer it. One is, I'm actually perplexed at how the Julian Nagelsmann thing just didn't work out. Why are you interviewing him and then eventually say no because of certain reasons that you could have found out even before interviewing him? So that's an issue. And two, who can save this club? Like, Daniel Levy's not going anywhere, right? So who can save this club, seriously?
Well, I mean, I don't have a name for you in terms of that, but I've said it before, right? Daniel Levy is a problem. It's a massive problem because, the club is tremendous. I mean, who wouldn't want to manage Spurs in London, in this beautiful stadium? But I think, I've said it, I think, at the beginning of it is, he needs to delegate. I think what we saw with Nagelsmann, maybe with others, it's the reluctance to think that, okay, I'm going to have a say. Daniel Levy has promised me that I'm going to have a say, but history tells me that he doesn't delegate. And that's part of the problem. You can be a boss and you can have the final say, but at some stage, if I'm a manager of any club, I'd like to think that, if I have a say on transfers or whatever it may be, I'm going to go to my boss, and from time to time, he's going to say yes. Do you get that impression that he's that sort of man? I simply don't. So Harry Kane aside, I hope he leaves. He needs to leave. He's proven that he's a tremendous player, and unless he decides to be a lifer, for the lack of the better word, that Maldini type, where he stays with one club, I think he deserves to go somewhere and win it, because look what he does, right? Even that penalty today. I mean, it seems simple. We've seen many miss it. Emphatic finished 27 goals on the season. I mean, he's been basically scoring every game for the most part, right? So that's one thing that you can say or you can count on is Harry Kane. But I think it's a difficult job. But there's always someone, Luis, that when there's a chaos, I always say there's an opportunity, and this is a still massive opportunity, because these are Spurs. So somebody's going to say, I am going to be the one that delivers a trophy for the first time in upteen years.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.